Welcome back. Uh, Yesterday we saw one conventional problem of three constraint, three variable. It had all the constraints of the type less than or equal to. So that's a standard type of a problem. The basic problem in linear programming, it will always have all the constraints as less than or equal to. Now we'll go to something little more difficult, little more complicated. For example, today I have with me a problem of minimization type. Okay. This is appearing at question number 2. Yesterday, what we have done is question number 1. What we are going to do today is question number 2, where both the constraints are greater than or equal to type. Okay. I'll read the question first. It will be shown on the screen in any case. Minimize 60x1 plus 90x2. This objective function is to be minimized 60x1 plus 96x2. Subject to two constraints. What are the two constraints? 2x1 plus 4x2 is greater than or equal to 40, and 3x1 plus 3x2 is greater than or equal to 36. And where the non-negativity condition is also valid, that means x1 and x2 should be positive. Fine. So this is what the question is about. Now what we'll do is we'll go to this question and start solving it. In the course of solving it, we may come across some difficulties. We'll overcome those difficulties and proceed further. Okay. So let me share the screen of my iPad. This is the iPad screen now I'm sharing. This is the question which I read. Both the constraints are greater than or equal to type. Minimize 60x1 plus these subject to these two constraints. Fine. Now what is the first step? The first step is always to convert the constraints into equal to type. Now yesterday what we did was less than or equal to type of constraints were there. Therefore we added something on the left hand side. Now let's first introduce the variables on the left hand side to convert the constraints into equal to type. Now look here. The left hand side is greater than or equal to right hand side. Okay. Left hand side is greater than or equal to right hand side. That means I must subtract something from the left hand side so that I'm in a position to write it as equal to. Same over here. This constraint is also same. This is also greater than or equal to. So I need to subtract something from the left hand side so that I can write equal to. Okay. Fine. Now let's do that. See. 2x1 plus 4x2, the first constraint, minus s1. What we are writing is minus s1 is equal to 40. We said that something needs to be subtracted from the left hand side. The something which is subtracted from the left hand side is minus s1. Okay. Now, second constraint, this constraint has been dealt with. Okay. The second constraint here says 3x1 plus 3x2 is greater than or equal to 36. So I subtract s2 from here. 3x1 plus 3x2 minus s2 is equal to 36. So this constraint is also modified. Okay, fine. Now this information, as usual, we'll write it in the form of a table. And what about the non-negativity condition? The non-negativity condition also applies to s1 and s2. Just as it applies to x1 and x2, it also applies to s1 and s2. So I'll write x1, x2, s1, s2 are all non-negative. That means they are positive. Now this information is written in a table form. What is the table form? 4 columns for 4 variables, x1, x2, s1, s2. RHS on the right hand side, and contribution and basis are the 2 columns on the left hand side. Fine. So see, first constraint, I'll read this constraint. What are the coefficients of variables? X1 has a coefficient 2, x2 has a coefficient 4, s1 has a coefficient minus 1, and the right hand side is 40. So I'm writing here 2x1. See, 2x1, I'm writing this in the form of this table. first row in the table is 2x1 plus 4x2 minus s1, and s2 is absent in the first constraint. So s2 under s2 column I write 0 and the right hand side is 40. Okay, so this is the first constraint. Second constraint, similarly, it has got minus s2, so I'm writing 3x1, okay, 3x2, no s1 in the second constraint, and s2 comes with a coefficient minus 1. See here, s2 comes with a coefficient minus 1, so minus 1 under s2 column, right hand side of the equation is 36. So this is the modified form of the problem. Okay. Now we said that when the equations are modified, put in the tabular form, you will always find presence of an identity matrix. Now that is where we get into a difficulty. Like see, what is an identity matrix? These are two rows here. The identity matrix must come in the form 1 0 0 1. This is the form of identity matrix. Identity matrix must appear in this form. What is it appearing here as? It is appearing here as minus 1 0 0 minus 1. Where is it coming? Here it is coming. Minus 1 0 0 minus 1. Okay, because s1 and s2 were subtracted from the left hand side, their coefficient is appearing as minus 1 in the table. Therefore, the identity matrix that we wanted it to be present is not present in this table. This is a great difficulty because identity matrix always identifies the initial basis. If you recollect yesterday's problem, S1, S2, S3 were the basic variables because S1, S2, S3 formed the identity matrix under them. S1 column was reading like 1 0 0, S2 column was reading like 0 1 0, and S3 column was reading like 0 0 1. Therefore, we could say confidently that S1, S2, S3 form the identity matrix. So we had written identity matrix under S1, S2, S3, and same became the basic variables. Now here the difficulty is there is no identity matrix. Okay. Now what do we do? See, when the identity matrix is not there, what is identity matrix? Identity matrix is the starting position or the starting tableau or the starting basis. Okay. Now, therefore, we forcefully create an identity matrix. You want an identity matrix? Here it is. So what we do is, see here. Can you see your identity matrix? 1 0 0 1. You want it as identity matrix. I have written it as identity matrix 1 0 0 1. Okay. So this is the identity matrix which we have forcefully created. So what has happened to the first constraint? See, the first constraint, therefore, is 2x1 plus 4x2 minus s1 because we wanted to convert it into equal to. But then there was a difficulty in getting the identity matrix. So we added a1 to the first constraint and we wrote it here, plus a1 is equal to 40. Okay. So first constraint is modified. This variable is subtracted. This variable is added. Okay. Now the variable s1, when it is subtracted from the left hand side, it is called as a surplus variable. Previously, it used to be called as slack variable. When it was added on the left hand side, it was called a slack variable. Surplus variable is always subtracted from the left hand side. So 2x1 plus 4x2 minus s1, fine, and plus a1 because we want an identity matrix. Okay, so plus a1 is equal to 40. So in other words, when the constraint is of the type greater than or equal to, pay attention here on the iPad screen. When the constraint is of the type greater than or equal to, we have two types of action. One is subtract surplus and add artificial. Subtract surplus and add artificial. Twin actions are required. Fine. Same thing is happening with second constraint also. 3x1 plus 3x2 minus s2 is what we have already done. Plus we are adding a2. We are adding a2. Okay, is equal to 36. Now the non-negativity condition applies to all variables used in simplex. That means x1, x2, s1, s2, A1, A2. Okay, all the variables used ever in simplex are such that they are always required to be non-negative. Fine. So this is my first table. But what about contribution of A1 and A2? Let's come to the contribution of A1 and A2. See, we have reluctantly introduced A1 and A2. We actually were not interested in introducing A1 and A2 because we had a difficulty of identity matrix. We have reluctantly introduced A1 and A2. Okay, fine. Now, therefore, we do not want A1 and A2 to appear in the final solution. How to ensure that A1 and A2 do not appear in the final solution? The problem is for minimization. Remember, the objective function value is to be minimized. Okay, so what is the objective function value? The objective function value is 60x1 plus 90x2. See here, 60x1 plus 96x2 is the objective function. This is required to be minimized. Okay, so if the objective function is to be minimized, so long as A1 and A2 are present in the basis, they will never allow the objective function to be minimized. We must put a contribution to A1 and A2 in such a way that presence of A1 and A2 will never allow the objective function to be minimized so long as A1 and A2 are present in the basis. Therefore, we ourselves assign a very high positive contribution, M, to the artificial variables A1 and A2. See, A1 and A2 is an artificial arrangement. It was not present in the original tableau, nor was it required to convert the constraint into equal to. We had to simply subtract S1 and subtract S2 from the first and second constraint. So this is an artificial arrangement, undesirable arrangement. We are doing it unwillingly. Therefore, A1 and A2 will have a contribution which is substantially very, very high, such that it will never allow us to minimize the value of objective function so long as A1 and A2 are present in the basis. So therefore, we come to the conclusion that contribution at A1 and A2 must be made very high. That's fine. Now, how to do that? Let's do that. See here. We'll write the contribution of A1 and A2 as something like M. Okay. Something like M. What is M? M is a positive number tending to infinity. M is tending to infinity. So M is greater than any number that you can think of. M is tending to infinity. Therefore, we have assigned ourselves a contribution equal to M to both A1 and A2. So therefore, I'm writing under the contribution column M, M. So A1 has a contribution M, A2 has a contribution M. That's fine. So this table is now looking like more like complete, except the index row values. Okay. Now index row values are required to be calculated. How do we calculate the index row values? See, over here we are going to write the index row. Okay. Now see what is there at the top. At the top we have 60. 60 minus 2 multiplied by M plus 3 multiplied by M. That is 5M. So I'll write 60 minus 5M. Now the second one. This is 96 at the top. So 96 minus 4 multiplied by M and 3 multiplied by M is 7M. Therefore, I'll write 96 minus 7M. Okay. Now coming over here, 0 at the top, minus M plus 0. So 0 minus M, that is plus M. This also 0 minus M. So 0 minus M, that is plus M. These being identity matrix columns, we have got to get a 0 in the index row. So how it is? M minus 1 into M is M. So M minus M is 0. A2 column is also 0. And what is the value of objective function? The value of objective function at this stage is 40 multiplied by M plus 36 multiplied by M, that is 76M. 76m is the value of objective function. M itself is tending to infinity. Therefore, 76m is 76 times m, which is tending to infinity, infinity, infinity. Okay. And we are trying to minimize the value of objective function. Why this has happened? Because we have ourselves assigned a contribution plus m to the artificial variables a1 and a2. Fine. Now let's go to the table. This is the table, therefore. Okay. This is the table which I have created. Now, there is one difference between maximization and minimization. In case of maximization, we picked up the highest positive value from the index row. Now, in case of minimization, similarly, we'll pick up the highest negative value from the index row. What are the values in the index row? See, this is 60 minus 5m. One option is 60 minus 5m. Then 96 minus 7m. Then m, 0, 0. So under these columns of x1, x2, s1, s2, a1, a2, we have 96 minus 60 minus 5m, 96 minus 7m, m, 0, 0. Are there any negative numbers out of this? Yes, because m is positive. 96 minus 7m and 60 minus 5m will be highly negative. Out of which more negative will be this, because this is coefficient of m is 7, minus 7. Okay, so this is actually negligible compared to minus 7. The 60 and 96 are negligible. Therefore, minus 7m is the highest negative value in the index row. Therefore, variable x2 column is the key column. Okay, like see now. Variable x2 column is the key column. Now, which is the outgoing row? This is the incoming column is x2. Outgoing column is calculated how? RHS value upon value in the key column. So what is it? 40 divided by 4. I'll write it. Is 10. Then 36 divided by 3 is 12. So the two ratios are 10 and 12. Which of them is lower? Obviously 10. Therefore, the first row is the outgoing row. And the first row is A1 row. So A1 goes out. Okay. And X2 comes in. So the next basis, we go from one basis to the next basis. Now this is the first basis. Now this is the second basis. See what is there in the basis here? A1 and A2 are there in the basis. Okay. Now what is going to happen is A1 is replaced by whom? The incoming variable is x2. So A1 is replaced by x2. A2 remains as it is. Okay, fine. Now x2 and A2 are the new basic variables. See here. This table is what I'm talking about. X2 and A2 are the new basic variables. Okay. Therefore, first thing, let's write under x2 and A2 column identity matrix. X2 column. First, x2 column 1 0 written. Okay. See this I am looking at first column. Second column. X2 column is written as 1 0. A2 column is written as 0 1. Okay. And in the index row, we write a 0 without even calculating. Okay. Fine. So identity matrix is written. Now what about A1 column? Now let's see what is happening in the process is A1 is going out and X2 is coming in. One of the artificial variables is leaving the basis. So it's like this. When we suffer an accident of the leg, okay, we are required to walk on crutches. Okay. So there are two crutches to start with. Okay. And as the wound starts healing, we remove one crutch. Okay. Then when we are even better off, then we remove the second crutch. That is precisely what is happening here. The two crutches being used by us reluctantly, undesiredly, were A1 and A2. So A1 and A2 being two crutches, one of them is going out now, that is A1 has gone out, therefore A1 is never likely to enter again. Therefore, A1 column has served its purpose. Therefore, A1 column I am deleting right now. See here. A1 column stands deleted. I am not going to calculate A1 column anymore. Okay. So what has happened? There were 6 columns in the table, X1, X2, S1, S2, A1, A2. As soon as one artificial variable has left the basis, I have deleted the column for that. Now, when the second artificial variable A2 also leaves the basis, at that stage, I'll delete even the A2 column. Okay, fine. Now see, uh, 10 is the lowest key ratio, lowest division of RHS upon a number in the key column. Therefore, first row is the key row. Okay, first row is the key row. Therefore, what is the formula for first row? First row formula, I'll write. New number is equal to old number divided by key number. This is the formula for key row. For key row. Now for non-key row, what is the formula? New number is equal to old number minus, there is a term in the bracket, corresponding number in the key row into key ratio. Okay, fine. So let's find out what is the key ratio. This is the key column. See, this is the key column. And this number is the key number. Number 4 is the key number. So what is the key ratio? 3 upon 4. So key ratio, I'll write, is 3 upon 4. For the second row, the key ratio is 3 upon 4. Okay. Now let's start the transformations of the key row. What are the numbers in the key row? See, the numbers respectively from left to right are 2, 4, -1, 0, 1, 0, 40. These are the numbers in the key row. What is the formula? The formula is that we should take the old number divided by the key number. See here, take the old number divided by the key number. Okay, for the key row. So let's transform the key row first. First row is the key row. Therefore, I'll transform the first row. 2 divided by 4 is 1 by 2. Can you see here? 2 divided by 4 is 1 by 2. This 1, 0, 0, 1 is already written under X2 and A2 columns. Okay. Now 4 divided by 4 is 1. Fine. -1 divided by 4 is -1 upon 4. Then 0 divided by 4 is 0. A1 column I am ignoring. A2 column I am keeping. 0 divided by 4 is 0. And 40 divided by 4 is 10. Fine. So this is the first row, which is octet. First row transformation was easy because it was key row. In the key row, we have to simply take the old number divided by the key number. What was key number? Key number was 4. Remember this. Key number was 4. So everywhere in the first row, we have divided by 4. Now the second row. Second row is a non-key row. What is the formula for the non-key row? New number is equal to old number minus corresponding number in the key row multiplied by key ratio. Okay, fine. Let's take the old number. See, this number is what I'm trying to calculate. 3 by 2. It has already been calculated and put in the table, but let's calculate it now. Which number I'm calculating? The number shown in yellow color is what I'm trying to calculate. How do we calculate this? See, in the This is the new number. So new number is equal to old number 3. What is the old number? Old number is 3 minus corresponding number in the key row is 2. The second term is multiplied by key ratio. What is key ratio? 3 by 4. So 3 minus 2 into 3 by 4. That is 6 by 4. So 3 minus 6 by 4 is minus 3 by 2. So 3 minus 3 by 2 is 3 by 2. So this is the number 3 by 2 which we have obtained. This one was written by virtue of identity matrix. Now I'm coming to this calculation. 3 by 4. Okay. Now this 3 by 4, this new number is equal to old number. Old number is 0 minus corresponding number in the key row, which is minus 1. So minus 1 will become plus 1 multiplied by key ratio 3 by 4. So 1 multiplied by 3 by 4 is 1 multiplied by 3 by 4, which is appearing here as 3 by 4. Now this number minus 1 I am calculating. How do I calculate minus 1? Old number is minus 1 minus corresponding number in the key row is 0. So minus 1 minus 0 into key ratio. So minus 1 will remain as minus 1. Okay. This will also remain 1 0 as identity matrix column we have already said. Now this number 6, how do we calculate this 6? This 6 number which is coming in place of 6, how it is calculated? Old number is 36 minus corresponding number in the key row is 40 multiplied by key ratio, which is 3 by 4. 3 by 4 into 40 is 30. Therefore, 36 minus 30, this is equal to 6. So this is how the 6 has come up. Okay. So this table is complete. All the numbers in the table are calculated except for the values in the index row. Now let's calculate the values in the index row. The value here 12 minus 3m by 2, how is it calculated? It is calculated like this. At the top we have 60. At the top we have 60 minus 96 multiplied by 1 by 2. 96 multiplied by 1 by 2 is 48. 3 by 2 into m. Okay. 60 minus 1 by 2 into 96 plus 3 by 2 into m. This is the value which is shown over here. How is it calculated? 60 minus 48 will be 12 minus 3m upon 2. So 12 minus 3m upon 2 is the value which is appearing here. Okay. Now coming over here. 0 at the top minus 1 by 4 into 96, that is minus 24. Okay. And correct. And 3 by 4 into m is 3 by 4. So 0 minus 24 minus 3m by 4. 24 minus 3m by 4. This is m. 0 minus m. This is identity matrix, so it has got to be 0. And what is the value of objective function at this stage? Just see, 6 multiplied by m. So yeah, now I am showing you how to calculate this. 6 multiplied by m plus 10 multiplied by 96. So 6m plus 960 is the value of objective function. What was the previous value of objective function? 76m. The problem is of minimization. That means at every iteration, the value of objective function must go on reducing. How much has it reduced to? 6m plus 960. So 76m has become 6m, which is a very substantial progress in the value of objective function. It has tried to be getting to lower and lower. 76m was the first value of objective function. It has become 6m. So 76m becoming 6m is a very good progress, but still we are not happy with it because m is still present in the objective function value. When m goes away, we'll be really happy. Okay, fine. So this is the new table. This table of first iteration has been completed. Now, what are the values in the index row? 12 minus 3m by 2, 0, 24 minus 3m by 4, m, 0, and this is the objective function value. So this is not to be read. So is there any negative number? Yes, there are two negative numbers. What are the negative numbers? 12 minus 3m by 2 and 24 minus 3m by 4. So which of them is more negative? Look at the coefficient of m. 3 by 2 here and 3 by 4 here. So obviously this is the highest of the value. Therefore 12 minus 3m by 2. This I'll put an incoming arrow. So I realize that variable x1 is entering the basis. Okay. Variable x1 is entering the basis. Which variable will leave the basis has to be decided by taking the division of RHS value upon value in the key column. Now see, for example, 10 divided by 1 by 2, 10 in the RHS column value, 1 by 2 in the key column value. So 10 divided by 1 by 2 is 20. Okay. And 6 divided by 3 by 2 is 6 2s are 12, 12 upon 3 is 4. So this is 20 and this is 4. So obviously the second row is the outgoing row. Okay. And the outgoing variable is A2. Okay. So A2 goes out and X1 comes in. But this is the incoming column. X1 comes in, A2 goes out. So what will be the new basis? The new basis will be X2 and X1. See here. X2 and X1 is the new basis. So what has gone out? A2 has gone out. So A2 column can also be dropped. So just as we dropped A1 column previously, I am dropping A2 column right now. Okay. So A1 and A2 column are like crutches. The second crutch is also removed. So because we are able to walk on our own, the second crutch is also dropped. And therefore, we have in the basis column X2 and X1. What is the contribution of X2? The contribution of X2 is 96. Contribution of X1 is 60. See, look at the contribution. X2's contribution is 96. X1's contribution is 60. So we write 96 and 60 over here. A1, A2 columns stand deleted. No more to bother about M. Okay. There is no place for writing M anywhere. Therefore, this is the second iteration. A1, A2 goes out, X1 comes in. So X2 and X1 are the basic variables. So let's quickly write down under columns X2 and X1 the identity matrix. So under column X2, I'm writing as 1, 0. Okay. Under column X1, I'm writing as 0, 1. Okay. And in the index row, we write 0 under the columns of identity matrix. So this part of the table is ready. S1, S2 are the only columns which are required to be calculated apart from the RHS column. Okay. Now let's calculate S1 and S2 column. Which of them is the key row? Second one is the key row. Okay. 3 by 2 is therefore the key number. 3 by 2 is the key number, and therefore the key ratio will be 1 by 2 upon 3 by 2. Which is equal to 1 by 3. Key ratio is equal to 1 by 3. With that information, we'll transform the numbers. First, we'll transform the key row. What is the formula for key row? Take the old number, divide it by the key number. This is the formula for key row. So let's take the old numbers divided by the key numbers. Say 1001 we have already written. Okay. Second row is the key row. The old number is 3 by 2, 3 by 4. This is to be divided by 3 by 2, or in other words, multiplied by 2 by 3. So what is this? 3 and 3 gets cancelled, and 2 and 2. So 1 by 2 is the new number. New number is equal to old number divided by key number. The key number is 3 by 2. Now here also, the new number, this new number is equal to old number, that is minus 1, divided by 3 by 2, that is multiplied by 2 by 3. So minus 2 by 3. Okay. Then 6. 6 multiplied by 2 by 3. 3. So 2 into 2, 4. So this is 4. So second row is now written as 1, 0, 1 by 2, minus 2 by 3, 4. Second row has been completed. Now the first row. First row is more complicated because of the second formula. What is the second formula? New number is equal to old number minus corresponding number in the key row multiplied by key ratio. Fine. So let's do now. How many numbers are required? Actually only this number is required and this number is required and this number is required. Once we calculate these three numbers, we'll be through with the calculation. Now see, this new number is equal to the old number. Okay. What is the old number? Minus 1 by 4. Old number is minus 1 by 4. Minus corresponding number in the key row, which is minus 3 by 4. Okay. Multiplied by key ratio. What is the key ratio? 1 by 3. Okay. Now see here. 3 and 3 gets cancelled. So this is minus 1 by 4, minus 1 by 4. Minus 1 by 4, minus 1 by 4 is minus 2 by 4 or minus 1 by 2. So this is minus 1 by 2 which we have calculated. Now the number here. How do we get this? 1 by 3. Old number 0 minus minus 1, that is 0 plus 1 multiplied by key ratio which is 1 by 3. So 0 plus 1 by 3, that is 1 by 3. Okay, fine. Now this number 10. How do we calculate this 10? How do we calculate this 8? Okay. Now new number 8, which we have not yet calculated, is equal to old number, that is 10. Old number 10 minus corresponding number in the key row, which is 6, multiplied by key ratio, which is 1 by 3. So this is 10 minus 6 by 3, that is 10 minus 2, which is 8, and therefore I got this 8. Fine. Now let's examine the table has been completed. Let's calculate the numbers in the index row. What are the numbers in the index row? These 0 were put by us because these are columns of identity matrix. Now this number is 18 and this number is 8. How do we get this? 0 at the top. Okay, 0 at the top minus 96 multiplied by minus 1 by 2, that is minus 48. 60 multiplied by 1 by 2, that is 30. So what is this? Minus 18, that is plus 18. Okay, plus 18 is what we have got. Now we'll calculate this 8. How do we calculate this 8? 0 at the top. Okay, 0 at the top minus into bracket 1 by 3. See here, 1 by 3 into 96, that is 1 by 3 into 96 is 32. Minus 2 by 3 into 60, that is minus 40. Okay, so 0 minus into bracket 32 minus 40, which is minus 8. So 0 minus minus 8, that is 8, and therefore we have written this 8 over here. Okay. Now objective function value, it was previously 6m plus 960. Remember, m was present. 6m plus 960 was too large a number because m is a very large positive number. Therefore 6m plus 960 was an extremely large positive number. Now what is the value of objective function? 1008. How do we get this 1008? 8 multiplied by 96 plus 4 multiplied by 60. Okay, that comes to 1008. 8 multiplied by 96 plus 4 multiplied by 60 is 1008. And what is the numbers in the index row? The numbers in the index row are 0. Let me write down the numbers in the index row. The numbers in the index row are 0, 0, 18, 8. Under the columns x1, x2, s1, s2, 0, 0, 18, 8. Is there any negative number in this? No. But this is 0, this is 0, this is positive 18 and this is positive 8. That means there is no negative number in the index row. The proof of optimality in case of a minimization problem is absence of a negative number in the index row. Whereas proof of optimality in case of a maximization problem is presence of is absence of positive number in the index row. Absence of positive number in case of maximization, absence of negative number in case of minimization. So there is absence of negative number in the minimization problem. So therefore I conclude that the solution is optimal. Okay. This solution is therefore optimal. And what are the values? Let's write down the values. X2 and X1 are the basic variables. Okay. So let's write down at optimality. Firstly, when you write at optimality, write the names of all the variables x1, x2, s1, s2. A1, A2 I'm not writing because they have gone out of the basis. Okay, like this. Now x1, x2, s1, s2, x1 is equal to, let me see, x1 is equal to 4. See, where is the value to be found out? In the RHS column. So x1 is equal to 4, x2 is equal to 8, s1 not present in the basis. What is not present in the basis is a non-basic variable, and non-basic variable is always at a 0 value. S1 is 0, S2 is 0, and zeta value is 1008 with an asterisk to show. I should put an asterisk over here also. Okay, so zeta is 1008, and this is the optimal value of the objective function. And now what is important is values of S1 and S2 are 0. What were S1 and S2? S1 and S2 were surplus variables which had to be subtracted from the left hand side of the problem. Now what are the values of various variables? 4 and 8. Okay, fine. So now I'll go to the original problem. This is the original problem. Now what are the values of x1 is equal to 4, x2 is equal to 8. These are the values of the objective function. These are the values of the variables at optimality. Like see over here in the first constraint, put x1 is equal to 4 and x2 is equal to 8. x1 is equal to 4. That means this is 2 into 4 is 8. x2 is equal to 8. So 4 into 8 is 32. Left hand side is 8 plus 32. What is it? This is 40. Right hand side is also 40. Okay, therefore the value of S1 which we had subtracted must be 0. So value of S1 is appearing where? 2x1 plus 4x2 minus S1. See here, 2x1 plus 4x2 minus S1 is equal to 40. So 32 plus 8 is 40 minus S1 is equal to 40. Therefore S1 must be equal to 0. And similarly 3x1 plus 3x2 will be what? 3 into 4 plus 3 into 8 minus S2 is equal to 36. Now 4 3s are 12, 8 3s are 24. So 12 plus 24 is 36. 36 minus S2 is 36. Therefore S2 must be 0, and that is what we have got at optimality. See here. At optimality, I have got x1 is equal to 4, x2 is equal to 8, s1 is equal to 0, s2 is equal to 0, and zeta value is 1008. Fine. So this is the way to solve a problem involving uh, constraints of the type greater than or equal to. Okay. So in summary, what is the solution? The solution is like this, that in summary what we do is, when the constraint is greater than or equal to, we have to subtract a surplus variable from any number of constraints which have greater than or equal to type of constraint. Okay, left hand side and right hand side are connected by a constraint called as greater than or equal to. Whenever the constraint is of the type greater than or equal to, you have to subtract the surplus variable from the left hand side. This is for the purpose of making the constraint as equal to. Now, however, this leads to a difficulty that identity matrix is not present in the table. When the first table is written, first simplex tableau is written, there is no identity matrix. Therefore, twin actions are required. The twin actions are, when the constraint is of the type greater than or equal to, we have to subtract a surplus variable and add an artificial variable. This is the twin type of action which is required. Okay, fine. So with that, we have solved another problem. Second problem. First problem was all the constraints were less than or equal to. The second problem was two constraints were greater than or equal to. We had to modify the constraints substantially. We had to subtract surplus, add artificial, subtract surplus, add artificial. But this is the way, there is no other shortcut. So whenever you see a constraint of the type greater than or equal to, you need to subtract a surplus variable and add an artificial variable. Okay. So with that, we have solved question number 2. Now, question number 3 is going to be another twist in the tail, as we say, and therefore we'll come to that question in the next lecture. So today we'll close here, okay, and tomorrow we'll come to that lecture that is having more types of complications. Okay, so for the time being, bye and have a nice time. Bye.